Two buds, one choice. Let's pit these two underdogs that are killing it in the wireless earbuds market at this very moment. Should you pick the Edifier Neobuds Pro or the SoundCore Liberty 3 Pro?
Goedendag, we're DHRME. Dudes half-ass in reviews, not mentioning codecs.
On this first category, extras, it's a clear win for the SoundCore. They can connect to two devices simultaneously. Does it work perfectly every time? On phones for standard apps? Yes. On other devices? Not so much. But at least you get that choice. On the Edifier, it's not even an option. Another thing that's not an option on the Edifier? Wireless charging. Yet another thing, the wear sensor. You know that thing that pauses your music when you take them out of your ear?
And then there's the app. It's true that the Edifier Connect app lets you do a bunch of things like change how it sounds, more on that later, and change the tap sensitivity, but the whole experience is shady. To begin with, you can't update the buds from the app directly. You have to sideload an app and that then updates your buds. It also asks for a whole host of permissions like WeChat APIs while installing the app, which doesn't inspire too much confidence in terms of privacy or security. The app design is also very average, with 2 of the 4 sections targeted towards selling you new stuff versus using your existing product. The persistent bar in your Android notification shade is useful, but it can get annoying since you can't swipe it away, even when the buds aren't connected. Overall, you just feel like it's not a polished app, but a port from something else. The SoundCore app is so much more refined and powerful that the comparison almost isn't fair. Now, you can still work with the Edifier app, don't get us wrong, but the SoundCore app just feels smoother and much better designed, with all the essentials fairly easy to find. In addition, SoundCore offers Hear ID in the app, where it tries to detect your ear's limitations and preferences to tune the noise cancelling and sound. Not our favorite feature, admittedly, but hey, you don't have to use it if you don't like it.
SoundCore also has wild customization over the touch controls. Whether you choose to use single or both buds, you can get the option of having different touch controls. With the latest update, you can even change between ANC or transparency mode with just one bud. This was a complaint a lot of others had before. Good to see SoundCore responding to it. And you know, even if you're not a tweaker, out of the box, the SoundCore comes with volume controls in addition to ANC and media controls, which is a win. Whereas the Edifier app makes you choose between these options using only double and triple taps, which often means you have to forego volume controls. So app or no app, the SoundCore wins. Wow, the Edifiers have taken quite a beating here. So let's try restoring balance a bit in noise cancelling.
Edifier absolutely does better with noise cancelling as well as transparency mode. Plain and simple. On the Edifier with transparency mode, however, you have this kind of radio tuning like artifacts. But hey, we take that over weaker transparency because we like to hear our environments clearly with earbuds in. You also have a slider that can turn the transparency level up or down with the Edifier. The SoundCore has 2 transparency modes, vocal and full transparency, that for some reason make no difference at all on our unit. We know that this should work because it works well on our other SoundCore unit, the Life P3, but that's the issue we face.
Both come with a whole host of tips, so getting a fit should be relatively easy. The SoundCore in theory might give you a more secure fit since it also attaches to your concha using a second rubber foot. But Edifiers, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stem style design won out for us, both in terms of comfort and fit. Additionally, the Edifier is way more resistant to bodily fluids and environmental dust with an IP54 rating, whereas the SoundCore is just a mere IPX4. That's 0 dust resistance and the same water resistance rating. Battery life is another story though. The Edifier gets 5 hours with ANC on and the SoundCore 6. Not a big deal, but you do get a whole extra charge from the SoundCore's case, which can matter if you're away from a charging port for long.
So let's talk about these cases. None of these cases are great, but SoundCore gives you many more bud and case colors to choose from, so that's a win for them. The Edifier has this cool Night Rider action with the charging lights, which is kind of fun, but it's also a bit confusing as to what the exact battery status is. The SoundCore goes for a more staid 3-dot charging status, which gets the job done. In terms of pocketability, the SoundCore has a slight edge because it's a bit thinner. And they've done a good job with the sliding mechanism, which hasn't failed us yet, and helps you open it with one hand quite easily. The one thing that really sucks about the SoundCore case and buds is how you return the buds to the case. The Edifier is very straightforward and the magnets pull the buds securely into the case. But you gotta get hardcore with the SoundCore to make sure everything's properly aligned, or you might end up closing the case with the buds still connected to your phone. And talking about phones, let's test some phone calls using these buds. You know the drill, listen, skip, you're in charge. Edifier Neobuds Pro, quiet conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. SoundCore Liberty 3 Pro, quiet conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Edifier Neobuds Pro, noisy conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. SoundCore Liberty 3 Pro, noisy conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Edifier Neobuds Pro, windy conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Both buds could aggressively cancel out background noise to the extent that you could barely hear it. In terms of microphone quality though, the SoundCore wins this round core. We noticed that the speaker's voice was more clear and understandable compared to the Edifier when the background noise was loud. When the speaker was talking loud on the Edifier, the voice sounded a bit muffled, and when speaking softly, we could barely make out what the speaker was saying. However, if the background noise isn't too loud, then both buds will do just fine. But that was for the person listening on the other side. While we were actually talking on the buds, the Edifier was more comfortable because there was less of this feeling of occlusion in your ears. And what kind of call controls do you get on the buds? They both have the basics of answering and rejecting and hanging up calls. The SoundCore is more fuckman though, since it allows you to change volume straight from the buds while on a call, whereas the Edifier doesn't. And in windy conditions, we thought that the SoundCore delivered clear voices and lower background sound.
Okay, let's talk about sound. Starting off, about codecs. We do heavily mention relevant effects of codecs. So with both these buds, you get LDAC, which is the top of the line codec. However, on the SoundCore, you will have to forego dual device connection if you want to retain the LDAC codec. Also, both of these feature a balanced armature and dynamic driver combination, so that's kind of a tie on the hardware front too. In terms of loudness, both can destroy your eardrums with long enough exposure to them, but in case you're wondering, the SoundCore are maybe like one volume stop louder. But hey, since this is a platform we have, here's some advice about volume. For those of us with normal hearing, don't heighten it to a really major extent, or you can damage your hearing to a really major extent. Yeah, those were both bad DHRME expansions. Leave some more in a comment down below. We've done deep dives of both these earphones for sound, so we're not going to do that, but just give you a TLDR. Also, both of these are fun earphones, not meant for any kind of neutral or transparent sound, so if you want that, maybe look at something else.
Starting off, we detected a bit of a change in tonal character on the SoundCore when we switched from normal to ANC or transparency. You can even see that difference in the frequency response chart we generated. Not so much on the Edifier except for that additional white noise in transparency mode. Starting with the bass, the Edifier has the bass much more turned up in the mix. It can also sometimes bleed into the mids, but hey, we're here for fun and not critical listening, so we're gonna have to deal with some choices. The SoundCore does bass a bit better and tighter and less bleedy. Wow, that could sound weird in the wrong context, but the balanced armature drivers on the SoundCore are clearly tuned to overdo treble. And even though I like my food spicy, I thought they veered too far from being a realistic sound. They also tend to add a sharp edge to vocals that I find most jarring. So for me, this affects the higher mid frequencies much more than the bass affects the mids on the Edifier. Now this may be good for certain types of electronic music, but for a number of other genres, it's a problem. Here ID made it even worse for me. I much prefer the more, and I use this word loosely, realistic treble on the Edifier Neobuds Pro. Both of these also do well with mids and have relatively wide sound stages and decent imaging for the size. So given the relative strengths and weaknesses, we prefer the tuning of the Edifier Neobuds Pro to the Liberty 3 Pro. Wow, I did not see myself saying that. Now, while that sound signature might be subjective, what can you change with the apps? Let's talk about tweaking the sound.
The Edifier has a couple of presets called Classic and Dynamic, which are very much like what those words sound like. And I really prefer this approach to presets than the 22 different presets on the SoundCore app. Choice is valuable, but more isn't always better. Dynamic is a bit louder and appears to be a bit more B-shaped. However, the simple looking EQ on the Edifier is actually deceptively powerful and almost unusable. To visualize a Q factor without a curve, how do you do that? And those exact frequency numbers at the bottom, who designed this? Unless you know exactly what change you want to make, this EQ is not usable. We would have liked to have more EQ bands like the SoundCore. Speaking of SoundCore, we started tweaking the EQ starting with the flat preset, and that led us to a nice sound signature. But here's the thing, both these buds are tuned for fun, and the moment you try to move away from their stock signatures, they start performing suboptimally. So again, don't buy these for anything other than fun. For a bassier stock sound with better timbre, get the Neobuds Pro. For customizability, and if you like the extreme treble and that smidge more volume, the Liberty 3 Pro.
Only Edifier responded to our request about environment, sustainability, and repairability, and they have the most basic environmental certifications in place. There's no recycling program that they directly offer. With SoundCore, we didn't get a response and we couldn't find anything on their website either. So if you're looking for a super environmentally conscious company or product, we're afraid that none of these is anything but just about compliant. Now, both these buds are plenty reliable in day-to-day use, but we did find that the Edifier did have connectivity issues now and again. One bud would connect and the other bud would stay unconnected, and then we had to, put both of them back in the case to kind of reset it. So that was an issue, although we've never had issues with the SoundCore Liberty 3 Pro connectivity wise. But if you read on the internet, there are a lot of people who do say they have connectivity issues. So yeah, make of that what you will. But for us, the SoundCore was a more reliable set of earbuds, consistently.
Which one should you get? Before we get to the conclusion, can we take a moment to appreciate how good the true wireless earbud offerings are these days? When we started reviewing buds, we used to talk a lot about audio lag, connectivity issues, slow charging speeds, single bud use, but these don't even make the cut on a video today. So thanks to companies like Edifier and SoundCore for raising the bar. Having said that, you're still spending your hard-earned money, so we will spend our hard-earned time helping you make that purchase decision. So if you want to support the channel, check out the Support Us section in the description down below.
For the SoundCore Liberty 3 Pro, the killer app, slightly better battery life, better bass, better calls in noisy conditions, and all those additional features like auto pause, wireless charging, multi-device connection really make it the superior set of earbuds. However, the Edifier Neobuds Pro still sound good, are more dust resistant, do better at ANC and transparency in our view, have a no-nonsense fit, and are cheaper than the SoundCore Liberty 3 Pro. How much cheaper? At the time of making this video, about $40 US, but for real-time prices, check out the links down below.
What that $40 is worth to you is up to you. You've been pondering life at 40, and we've been DHRME. Namaste.